Yeah, this is Mercer from October Gallery here in Philadelphia. It's a cold end of March day and end of the month of March day. And I'm here with Don Stevens. Don Stevens is from Willingboro, New Jersey. And we're going to talk about the African American art market. We're gallery owners on the commercial end. Don's a creator, so let's go at it. What do you expect from the African American art market as an artist?
Well, as an artist for the African American market, since I'm already considered that once eyes are placed on me anyway, no matter what I make, people are going to say, "Oh, that's African American art, or is that African art?" So first and foremost, it's just observation. You know what I mean? To understand that. Why the pieces may or may not be done, why do they have a certain flavor in them. You know, the observation is very key, because if nobody's looking, then why am I doing them? If I'm doing them for myself, then it doesn't make any difference. I don't need to come out anywhere to have that type of association. But since I'm looking for that association and making a connection, the first thing would be the observation. The next thing after that would be the patronage, because the patronage is absolutely needed. I mean, you know, all the energy companies in the area need patronage.
That's right.
And we need each individual next to us to be able to, how would you say, support what it is that you're doing in the first place.
And when you say patrons, you really mean customers. I mean, that's customers. So observation, you're saying you're producing the artwork, you're creating it, and therefore you, for lack of better terminology, you like to get eyeballs on that creativity, so that people can look at it.
The whole thing is you capturing eyes and you capturing minds and ears. You know, I mean, my main thing is capturing the eyes and the mind. You know, using, how would you say, using light, basically, color, form, function, things like that. But you know, it's the whole story behind everything. It's like, you know, what are you really trying to tell that audience, or what are you trying to expose or bring to that audience? And that's why the observation is very much important.
Right.
Because without that observation, then why are they even, you know, partaking into the image in the first place?
And then from their patrons, in other words, customers, being looking at it and seriously considering whether or not they want to take this object home.
Right.
Is that the next step?
Pretty much, because after that it's their connection. You know, they have to, not have to, but some sort of connection should be made with the piece in order for them to be able to feel engaged and want to take that piece home with them.
Right.
So the observation, the perception, and the patronage is very important.
What's the average price point for your work? Hate to put you on the spot like that. Since we're talking about observation and customers, what's the average price point? I know it'll vary. I understand.
It varies.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give a gambit where it plays into, like, for instance, reproduced work or open edition prints. They're going to be on the lower end of the scale, and they're going to be anything under $100, depending upon size. Limited edition prints, from me, they may go from 100 up at that point, because it depends upon the size, once again, and the materials, and then the content. And also that last adage too, where does the artwork go? Because the whole thing is that, okay, what makes the artwork famous, or what makes the artist famous or have recognition, is mainly, how would you say, how many individuals I get to buy into it. Not buy into it as far as tangibilities are concerned, buy into it as far as going out someplace where I may have a show.
That's right.
And I may have a show, at City Hall or something. Now, if nobody shows up, then, you know, it's problematic. But if these people show up and walk through, that's also another situation. Sure. So of patronage too as well, without, you know, having to do that too.
So you have a message, and you like for people to connect with that message. Yeah. And for you, I'm not saying for you, but is that 80–90% of the journey? In terms of the transactional end, that's what I mean. Of course, at the end of the road, we would like for them to actually pay for the piece and take it home.
Right.
But I'm saying more on the aesthetic, on the transformation end, getting the observation, and from there a person to say, I get the message, I believe, I see the message, I feel the message, I hear the message. Are you about, at that point, 80–90% satisfied with what you've put out there?
I'm satisfied once I'm done with the work.
Okay, oh, that's good.
That's the way
okay,
I am.
good.
Because when I come up with the idea, once again, it's like stream of consciousness. So I'm working with that cause first. Once again, I'm turning myself out first.
Right.
So once that piece is done, it's done. It's done to that series. So then even if the person doesn't get per se what I'm saying, they may look at the piece and formulate their own saying.
Okay.
Which is just as good for me too as well.
But if the patron does not buy the piece, I'm just trying to get to it, kind of in a rough sense. If a person does not actually buy the piece and pay for it, regardless of the price, if they pay 50% of value or 100% of value, do you feel disappointed?
Not disappointed, frustrated.
Okay.
Because frustration and disappointment, I believe, are two different things. Frustrated because I know that I have a bottom line. So I have to I'm always going through this battle of trying to keep your bottom line going right and keep things going. Meaning heat, gas, electric, car, I'm over in Jersey, the insurance and the taxes and all that good stuff. All that bottom line stuff. So for me, that's the frustration.
Okay.
Trying to maintain my bottom line. When I'm doing the work, you don't think about none of that. But then on the other end of it, when it's done, you're saying, okay, I got to buy more wood.
Okay, now that's interesting. That's interesting, where you say that when you're done with the piece, you're finished when the piece is completed.
Right.
Okay? And that is not your objective or your vision while you're creating the work.
Right.
It's a transaction. It's not.
No.
Okay. That's interesting.
No.
Okay. You want to expand on that? Because I like that. Because I'm sure there's some people out there who think, or might have the perception that you're creating strictly to transact.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's not the whole thing. The whole thing is that you hope that a transaction can be made off of the principles or off of the things that you're creating.
Okay.
So the main thing for me is the connection. It's always the connection that I'm making personally with the piece, and to be able to observe and pull things in to be able to get that information down.
Right.
Once that piece is done, I'm satisfied because my idea came out.
Okay, I got you.
Then when the idea is out, now it has to run like a free radical. You know, wherever it goes and whoever attention that it gets, then I'm looking for, okay, if you enjoy the piece that much, then why not patronize? Also the commodifying of self, you know, making little small derivatives, the prints and things like that. There are a couple of pieces that I don't want to relinquish because I like them myself. I'm not going to lie.
And we talked about that in another episode of this.
You know.
What about the patron or the customer that comes and sincerely, I mean, you believe, I like this. I like what you're saying. I like what you're doing. I get the message. Or I get the message that's meaningful to me. And they say, but I just can't afford it. I can't buy it. Not that they want you to give it to them, but does that bring some satisfaction to you, the fact that the person wants it, gets it, but just realizes, I can't do it today. I just can't do it. I just don't have the hard dollars to do it. Does that mean anything to you? Is that important? Or are you still frustrated?
No, at that point, what I do is like, all right, I'm originally from New York, so most of the places down here would be West Philly and stuff like that, where most of the shopping, 52nd Street, the gallery and stuff like that. Okay, if you understand what people call the Jewish mentality. Okay. So, all right, Delancey Street is that place where you can go and you can bargain. Okay. All right. Okay. If I got $500, I want to buy a sheepskin jacket, and I want to get the hat and the gloves to match, but it's outside my range. I look at the gentleman and I say, well, what can you do for me? Or I'm enjoying this. Can we work something out? So my thing is that if the individual really enjoys the piece at that point, we can make some type of arrangement, whether it be long-term, short-term, whatever the case may be, because my thing is the person wants the piece.
Now is that common artist thinking?
No.
Okay. It's
not.
All right, okay.
It's not. Because some artists strictly do create for the patronage.
Okay.
Some artists do go into their studios and they look around and say, what does that person really want? I'm going to give them a flower or whatever the case may be to get this sale. Nothing wrong with that. If that's what that artist wants to do and create for it, then okay, that's cool. We have histories of individuals that done that. But me, myself, I'm on the other polarity, whereas I'm going to create these works in hopes of getting that monetary return. But the main thing is that did I do my job right? Okay. It's just like
it's a compliment.
Right.
It's a compliment to it. It's not the main event.
No.
It's, okay, I see. All right, so let's take it a step further.
Okay.
You go to these shows, you go to expos, you're selling, and some gallery owners will contend that artists may or may not should sell their own artwork.
Okay.
It's because that creative right brain flow.
It's a battle.
That's right. Doesn't necessarily match where I can see. I'm trying to paint a scenario where I can see a person sitting there really wants to buy the piece, has connected with it, but just doesn't have the money to buy it.
Right.
You understand? And you mentioned, well, let's get together.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can make a short-term solution or a long-term solution.
Exactly.
But I venture to say that a lot of artists would not go there, not because they don't want to, because it's not part of that right brain thinking.
I agree with you.
Okay. All right.
I agree on certain levels because it depends once again on that creator or that creative person. Because if that creative person can deal within those realms, then hey, go for it.
Right.
But if the individual shows some type of lacking of understanding of how to switch on and off between management and creating, and then managing and creating, then that's where the issue lies in. And I will agree with you. Sometimes I have the issue.
Right.
Whereas you're trying to go out and you're trying to negotiate with somebody, but my mind wants to stay in the creative mode, but I want to negotiate with somebody because I want to have some, vegetables and brown rice.
That's
you know what I mean?
And as a gallery owner, we have the same challenges. Sometimes we go so hard on the transactional end. Not go hard, but we're going through step 1, 2, 3, 4 to make this happen, and we sometimes forget that this was a creative process that got us here. You see? And sometimes we have trouble switching back and forth. And that is important because, we've been doing this for 26 years, and you can imagine there are just so many people who bought in the beginning. This is a generation ago. You understand? And they'll come back and say, I paid $50 for that, and it's my best piece. I love it. Or I paid $20,000 for that, and it's my best piece. I love it. So obviously, the money wasn't, or now for them, is not a big part of their love for that art and what they're connecting with. You see? And we sometimes need to be reminded of that as gallery owners, because of course we're trying to realize that there are frustration levels that you have, that we have, and also as a commercial vendor, we want to know why people don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's. And I guess we're really talking to the audience out there to say, why don't they get it? But sometimes a lot of them do. So I guess what we're saying then, we start with the creative end. That is the most important part of the formula.
Yeah,
absolutely, positively.
It has to be.
And with you, when you complete your painting, you are finished.
Yeah, I'm finished with that particular thought at that moment. I'm moving on to the next thing. Or if it's a part of a series. So if I'm finishing that one, and it's in a part of a series of 40, then I need to be thinking about what that next step is going to be in the series. And then keep going forward until the whole series is done. Then I'm done with it. Now I start moving it around.
That's right.
I move it to different locations, different spots, show it in any little venue that I can, and things like that. But then I just want to touch upon the whole idea, the fame idea, because I believe a lot of people out here in the audience gets that misconstrued with what the artist or what the artist dealer is dealing with, because I think a lot of people don't understand fame is nothing more than garnering attention and getting individuals to see you. That's mainly all it is. Right. So when individuals are thinking about, are you famous, are you rich? No, you got to think about it. Fame is nothing more than how many individuals partake in what it is.
Or how they get started. How they may get started. It's the front door.
Yeah.
That's right. It's the front door. Absolutely. And that's a good point. And I remember when I first got in business 26 years ago, and we were typing up bios and putting them on fancy paper. When people came in, we would give people a bio right away. And someone said to me, well, if you go back 1,000 years or 2,000 years ago, there were very few universities, so it wasn't important where the guy went to school.
Nope.
it was you looked at the artwork.
Yeah.
That is what you did.
Did
You
I
went
have a
into the
connection
artwork.
with the artwork?
That's right. That's
If I was a bishop or monarch or something.